Today I'm going to talk about lowered progesterone in premenopause and ways to address it with supplementation and food. And I've split the videos of this series up into a number of different subjects. Really wanted to focus especially on the emotional aspects of premenopause separately because they are so different and there are different ways to address them than just working on your progesterone. But today I want to talk about progesterone at large and all of the symptoms, including the emotional ones. So the heavy bleeding, the changes in your period, your fibrous growths, endometriosis, the weepiness, the bloatiness, all of the premenstrual kinds of symptoms that happen. There are a couple food-based supplements that are really great to address low progesterone and to do it very gently and naturally using the body's own processes. So both of these supplements that I'm going to be talking about today use the body's own natural production of prolactin, a precursor to progesterone, to create progesterone in very gentle ways and levels so that it just evens out with the estrogen and really mellows out the estrogen dominance along the way. The first supplement I want to talk about today is called Vitex or chasteberry. It's just a fruit that grows on a tree. It's a very small little berry, kind of like a peppercorn. And it has been used historically, mostly in the early ages, by monks and celibate people who wanted to stay celibate because it really tempered testosterone. It has this really evening kind of power in the body with both men and women to really moderate our sex hormones. And so it's worked with men for lowering their testosterone, but it also works for women who have lower progesterone or estrogen dominance. And it is something that really is best used in a liquid form. So it is not best in a tea form or a dried form or a freeze-dried form, but it's best if you can get a liquid extract. And I will link to my favorite extract. It's by the brand called Gaia down below in the show notes of this video so that you can go directly to my dispensary and order some if you'd like to at a discounted rate. But it's something that uses, like I said, our natural process of creating something called prolactin and really mellows out endometriosis and fibrous growth both in the breast and fibroids in the uterus. For something like that, for something like growths that are getting out of control or heavy bleeding, it really does take a few months of taking this herb before it's highly effective, but it is highly effective, so be patient. And you definitely want a higher dosage for these kinds of issues than you would for the kind of issues that you have in puberty or premenopause that have to do with bloating or PMS or just little things like acne when your skin's getting out of balance. So about 100 milligrams per day for those little things, but for fibroids and endometriosis and heavy bleeding, then you want to take 400 milligrams twice a day. And that is a doctor's recommendation. That is not just my recommendation as a nutritionist, but that's coming from a doctor as well. The other supplement that I take for my lower progesterone levels in premenopause is something called evening primrose oil. And this is an oil that comes, again, from a natural tree. It's a tree that actually grows in North America here, mostly in the central and eastern parts of this country where I'm at. And it is an oil that is an omega-6 fatty acid. So you hear about omega-3 fatty acids all the time with fish products and fish oil, and that is an essential oil that the body cannot make on its own. Well, omega-6 is also an essential oil that we need that the body cannot make on its own. We have a lot more sources of omega-6 than we do omega-3. For example, avocado oil, almond oil, even olive oil is in omega-6. So all of those great nut and fruit oils that we use so much these days that are healthier than those seed oils that are made out of canola and soybeans and things like that. But evening primrose oil is different from those other omega-6 oils in that it can also produce prolactin and even out our hormones very, very naturally using our body's own moderator, the pituitary gland. So it's really, really great to use evening primrose oil as your source of omega-6 in your diet. And I like to use it on a monthly basis just during the luteal phase of my cycle, which is the last 10 days that comes before my period, which it tends to be when our progesterone is naturally highest, when we are producing plenty of it. So I like to use it just during part of the month, and the rest of the month I use omega-3 as a supplement to get plenty of fish oil in. That way I'm getting both of my missing essential oils that the body can't make on its own without having to take 2 different kinds of oil every day. And I think it's really good to kind of go through both our diets and our supplements with phases and seasons and taking time off of them as well. So that's the way that I take time off from the evening primrose oil. I just take it for the last 10 days of my cycle. Now, if your cycle is irregular, and that's one of the symptoms of premenopause, you may not know exactly when the last 10 days of your cycle is. So I would just wait until 10 days after your cycle. So 10 days after you stop bleeding, you can just assume that that's a good and safe time to start taking evening primrose oil. Again, I will have a link to my favorite brand of evening primrose oil down below for you in case you want to order it directly from my dispensary. But this is pretty easy to find in health food stores and supplement shops. So you can find just about any brand, will be pretty fresh. You want to make sure and open one of the capsules and smell it to make sure it's not rancid. But a lot of evening primrose oil supplements do a really good job of keeping their product fresh. So the second video in my series talked about all of the symptoms of perimenopause. There's a lot of them. You can put them into categories of weight gain and bloating, migraines and pain, menstrual pain, and bleeding and fibrous tissue growth all over your body. And then emotions. Those are the rough categories of perimenopausal hormone imbalance. But you also want to remember, and I've said this in some of my other videos as well, that your hormones will tend to balance themselves out naturally over time. So just like when you went through puberty and eventually things got better naturally, you will go through premenopause and things will get better naturally, and you won't have to take these supplements for many months or years. You should definitely take yourself off of them, especially after about 6 months, and just see if your production of progesterone has improved. You should find that your hormones are balancing naturally up until menopause, when again you're going to have a major dip in estrogen, which is a whole new set of symptoms, and I'm sure I'll have a series on that before too long. So this video is just talking about those 2 really vital foods and supplements that you can take to improve your progesterone naturally. This video is not about taking actual progesterone supplements, which is a much more complex subject, and I will not cover that here, but I will have a video about that very soon, and that will wrap up this series on lowered progesterone in perimenopause. Please leave all of your questions below. I know this is a really, really tricky subject and a really frustrating season of life to get through, but I promise your body is really powerful and will get you back to normal before too long. Thanks so much for your interest in this topic. I look forward to answering your questions down below in the comments. Make sure and like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.